Welcome to the Functional Health Coaching Show, where we are here to support and answer your questions so that you can help people on a deeper level get real results and grow your health coaching business. Do you have questions you want to ask live on the show? You can call in every Friday at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 1-347-637-1378. Are you looking to increase your credibility and grow your health coaching business using functional lab testing and data-driven protocols so that you can confidently solve health issues? Well, we have the course for you. Go to fdn.today/show to learn more and sign up today. Okay, let's join today's episode.
Hey guys, welcome to the FDN Fantastic Friday Call. Once again, thanks for spending an hour with us this afternoon. Long-standing FDN tradition, our Friday call. I guess it's really a podcast, but back in the day, it was everybody got actually that was going to be on the call was a trainee got sent an email with a case study to look at, and I did a lot of case study work back in the day. So we're continuing that tradition there of just support. That's what it comes down to, right? So FDN support call, and now our kind of newer name is the Functional Health Coaching Show. So I want to expand that reach and make sure that whoever's tuning in, if you are a graduate and need some support, if you're a trainee and you're moving through the course, or if you're just getting to know FDN as an organization and a certification and a tool to use to help people with their health, hopefully you get a taste of all those things during this call here today. So, again, thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Brandon Mole, FDN mentor and practitioner and clinical advisor, so kind of all things FDN. And I've got my partner in crime here too, Ryan Monahan, be on with us as well. And he does similar things. So there you are, Ryan. Hey, man, you made it.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, doing good. So,
awesome.
So yeah, we're going to support you guys today as best we can with your questions and on any topic that you want to discuss. If it's lab testing, if it's supplementation, if it's diet, if it's about exercise or rest or stress reduction or case management, or just how we think, philosophy of how we work, or a lot of times we'll get into marketing aspects or sales or onboarding calls or talking to people about what we do. It's kind of typical things that we talk about. And then we'll get some challenging, complex questions that I just kick over to Ryan and let him take care of. So we can cover the whole gamut here today. So again, thanks for spending some time with us. It's September 25th, 2020, just so we have that down for the notes, show notes. This is a recorded call, so if you're missing the call and not able to make these live, we've got them archived, so you can go back and listen to those. And we try to put some pretty extensive show notes in there for you guys, so you can do a search on FDN Connect, and usually if that topic has been covered on a Friday call, it will come up as one of your results on the search, and you can go back and listen to the Friday call that way. So yeah, September 25th, 2020, and if you guys missed the State of the Union or State of the FDN Union call yesterday, make sure you go back and grab the recording on that and listen up. So we started doing those. It's a fairly new thing here, I think really this year. We kind of did a little of this State of the Union on this call, on the Friday calls, but wanted something a little more formalized, plus cover some more information and have some of our staff, also leadership at FDN, talk a little bit and give reports about things. So if you missed that, go back and listen to it. It was really awesome. Just good to see everybody. Great updates. Just we're pretty transparent, I feel like, as an organization. We'll tell you what we're working on, if it's going faster than we think it's supposed to go or slower than it's supposed to go, and really where we are with things. So go back and listen to that. They talk about the FDN conference on there, talk about the updates to the course, all the things we're working on in the background through afdnp, all the things we want to do. Plus, we're looking always for your feedback on all these things. So we make FDN better because of you guys. Whatever you tell us, whatever you need, the feedback, we value that tremendously. So anytime we kick out a survey or ask a question or look for some kind of feedback, we always value that, and we actually covet that feedback. So if you missed the recording on that, was not able to attend live, go back, listen to the recording. You'll really enjoy that, especially if you're an FDN practitioner or trainee. It's going to be really important to hit that. And then, of course, the conference, right? So less than a month away, really, I guess at this point. So It's going to start October 23rd, right? So we're the 25th of September, so this will be like less than a month. Get some details on that. It's good to watch the State of the Union address there from Reed and the staff to get more details about all the cool things that's going to happen with that. I'm really excited about the idea of the networking groups and prizes and popping in on Zoom and getting to awards and prizes, things like that. So, but you got to be present. You got to be attending virtually at the conference to take advantage of a lot of those things there. So, pretty exciting stuff there. So, FDN conference virtual, but there'll be several of us there running the show, kind of headquarters there in San Diego. So some of us will be there doing our job, but we'll be connecting with you virtually and looking forward to an awesome weekend there. So FDNconference.com and get the details there. And it's something you will not regret coming to and spending that time and interacting with everybody the way that we're going to do it. It's going to be pretty awesome. So make plans and hang out with us virtually or however that works out. So, all right. Well, let's see. That was a couple of big things I wanted to mention. Ryan, anything else I need to bring up there before we congratulate a few graduates today?
Nothing other than that I'm super excited to be attending the conference, even though it's going to be virtual. I know that, of course, you're still allowed to kind of meet in person in San Diego if you still wanted to do the kind of in-person thing and kind of meet indiscreetly, like in small groups, right? And I think it's going to be awesome. I like you said, there's going to be lots of opportunities for networking and to win cool little prizes and all that good stuff. So just like really looking forward to that. It's always been the highlight of my year, and I feel that this year will be no exception.
Agreed. Same for us. So, all right. Well, hey, we got a few graduates here. Fortunately, we get to announce graduates every week. Somebody graduates and is certified through the FDN course every single week. So that's testament to your guys' effort. Yeah, it's pretty cool there. And mentoring and the flow of the course that you can make it through and be certified and start doing that work almost immediately. So once you're certified, within a couple of days, you're up and running. So if that's adding to what you're already doing, or it's a new venture for you, a new business or a career change for you, as soon as you make it through the verbal final, and we say that you're certified that way, within a couple of days, you're running labs, you're doing FD, and there's no waiting period. There's no more that you have to do. You just jump in, both feet, and do that. So these ladies here we had this week here, we've got 4 of them to congratulate. I'm thinking back here. Yeah, all of them have some established health business, and so they're adding the FDN certification and the training on lab work and the methodology, the dress protocol, all that to what they're doing. And so they're just kind of trying to up their game and add that extra tool to the tool belt. So pretty cool. And again, anybody that graduates this year, it's just an extra feather in their cap to make it through the FDN course and survive 2020 so far. So we do say big congratulations to these 4 ladies here this week. So I've got Abby Bradford. She's from Illinois. And Rebecca Stump from Houston, Texas. Lori Ballou from California. And Erica Zeal from Iowa. So we're scattered throughout the U.S. here this week. That's awesome. Ladies, congratulations. Great job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably have some new grads.
Congrats,
cool
everyone.
Stuff. So,
awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
All 4 corners of the country.
That's true. You're right. I thought about that. Yeah, pretty amazing. Never knew who's around. And some people, they're just doing their thing in their state, and they've got a big following, and a lot of people they're working with, and you don't hear from them. They're not on the big speaking circuit. They don't have gigantic followings, but they're loving the work that they do, making a good living doing that. And so we're all kind of a silent army in a way. I don't know what you would really call it, but a lot of us just kind of quietly doing our thing, helping people with their health on that level. And that's exciting. I'm glad to be part of it and have these people to be part of it too. All right.
Absolutely.
Well, I should have mentioned this is a live call, so if you want to call in and ask a question, make a comment. When I jumped on the switchboard here, I just saw a bunch of you guys jump on immediately with me, so thanks for tuning in here today with us. If you'd like to ask a question or make a comment, we'd love you to be a part of that, be part of the show. Best numbers to do that is 347-637-1378. Again, 347-637-1378. Just dial that and hit 1 on the keypad, and I'll see your hand be raised there, and I'll ask for probably call it your area code so I know I can identify you. I'll get your name and ask a question or two, and we're happy to help out again, whatever topic that you want to bring up. We're fine with that. And I would encourage you not to wait till the last 10 minutes of the call if you have a question. So if you're on and you want to ask a question, just jump right in there, ask that first, because we give a little longer answers here. And if it's last 10 minutes or so, a lot of times we get kind of cut off there. So otherwise, we'll go mostly to the written-in call or questions. I've got ones we pull from our Facebook groups and from just people emailing in with some questions. Well, people still like to do that, and we're happy to answer those. So, Ryan, you ready to go into questions or anything that you wanted to mention?
I say let's do it. And just kind of a little plug, too, for AFDNP. If you guys haven't joined already, it is a no-brainer for FDN graduates. Just a ton of value being delivered lately, and attended a webinar this morning with the founder of Get Healthy store. And guys, it is so cool. It kind of blows Fullscript out of the water. I got to say, some of the features are pretty amazing. You get to have your own branded store with your logo. So let's say in my case, I could do ryanmonahan.gethealthy.com and have my own store. So not only can you sell all the same kind of supplements that you would through a Fullscript store, but you can also be able to sell all kinds of different health-related products, like a sauna or an air purifier, a water filter, even like food-related products like collagen, different kind of beauty products, and clean products like cosmetics and that sort of thing. So all those other kinds of products that you normally might send an affiliate link through Amazon, say, to a client, you can now have that all in one place. Not only that, but you could also sell services on there. Like, so if you could sell your one-on-one coaching mentorship as a service. You can sell, say you had like a meditation course you sell or a yoga course. So it's really, really robust. I'm super excited about it. I'm going to set up my store today. That's how jazzed I was about it. So when you're an AFDNP member, you do get all of these exclusive webinars delivered to you where you can learn about all these kinds of things. So, this is just one of the many, many value propositions that AFDNP is bringing to the community. But just kind of wanted to mention that, to give you guys a gentle nudge into that group. It's really ends up being, Jennifer says it's not the cost of a Starbucks coffee a day. It's the cost of one Dunkin' Donuts coffee a day. So it's just such a good value at such an affordable price.
It is, and it's pretty tremendous. I've been around FDN for over a decade now, and everything we add like that on the postgraduate support side is welcomed by everybody I know, because when I graduated, we didn't have quite that level of support. You had to kind of do different things and kind of find your way a little bit more so. Reed said, "Hey, I taught you how to do it. Go do your thing." He's a great businessman, and so he kind of thinks, "Hey, you'll kind of figure it out." He already knows these things, he figured it out. So, adding AFDNP, that when that was initially the idea was introduced, I said, "Yeah, that's amazing. That's exactly what we need, because we have so many people with questions about, what do I do next, right?" So I've got this awesome certification. I know how to interpret lab work, put together an amazing dress protocol. I know the power of the certification that I have. What I can do with it is just, how do I let myself be known, and how do I do this part of my business and that part, and what's the best options here? So that's part of what we're bringing to you. So, hey, here's some ways you can do this. How do I do the supplement thing? Okay, you can go direct to the companies. You can use FullScript. You can use Get Healthy. There's different ways that you can do this. How's best to market? What feels good to me? How do I set up, packages and pricing? How do I, what's the best way to do an onboarding call? What's some things we can do here? Lots of questions like that come up, and AFDNP has done an amazing job of supplying answers to those. And at a minimum, I think it's worth just the community access with the Facebook page and be able to be on a page like that with active professional, that's AFDNP Association of FDN Professionals, right? So people doing the work, seriously doing the work, and be able to have that community to reach out to, get answers from people like Ryan and everybody that's monitoring those pages there. It's worth that alone for those quick questions that you have, just a little bit of clarity on something. If you're not investing in your business financially, then you're probably holding yourself back. And that's something I had to learn as you become an FDN practitioner, you become a business person also. It's just kind of one and the same, an entrepreneur, a solopreneur. That's what you do. And yes, for a long time, you try to do things on the cheap as much as you can. But eventually, you've got to make that shift. And AFDNP, I would say by far, is the most value you'll ever see for your business. And if you've, that might be a first really good step for you for your business to invest in that is to become a member and do that. It's very inexpensive for everything that you get with that. So don't hold yourself back. There's a lot more in you and a lot more potential, a lot more reach that you can have. And investing in your business and learning those skills and staying connected with a group of like-minded individuals, that does wonders for you for every aspect of it. And so more people to reach, more people to help, and more satisfaction and fulfillment, I think, in life. So I wholeheartedly stand behind AFDNP and love it that we have that as an option. So check it out. If you have questions about that, you can reach out. Ryan's doing a great job supporting there. Jennifer's been tremendous on as a director position there, what she's been doing. She's just top-notch. So we appreciate everything you guys are doing for us.
Another really cool thing is that AFDNP is going to be launching an expert advisory board, and the launch for that's going to start on October 8th, so just in a couple weeks. And guys, this is going to be amazing. So it's going to include a panel, basically, of half a dozen or so expert advisors, including Sean Croxton, who's going to be there to answer your questions about mindset. Kendra Perry's going to be the expert advisor for HTMA questions. We've got Dr. Lori Rose there to help support with topics of surrounding herbalism, and a whole bunch of others. So the community is just going to grow stronger and stronger in terms of you're not going to get support like this anywhere in the industry, in my opinion, other than being a part of this group. So, like Brandon was saying, this is the place to be if you're looking to really grow your business and get, stay up to date on latest business practices and tips and ways to scale your business, have access to some of these expert advisors, be able to answer your clinical questions in a really timely manner, and be a part of a group of really dedicated FDNs, guys. This group of AFDNP members, these are not your hobbyist FDNs. This is really, for those that are looking to up-level their practice and their business and looking to get really, really serious about, being able to be an entrepreneur and a solopreneur and be able to have that kind of reach and help as many people as possible. And that's what the group is all about, helping you to support you on that path.
Mm-hmm. They're top-notch. I get to talk to them every week. So the medical director consults I get to do. And Ron, you do too. You know who's out there and what they're doing, their heart and the quality and the changes. I get to hear a success story after success story. Every day, just about, I get to hear something, either my client or somebody else's client, improvements that they see. So that keeps me pumped up pretty good there, to hear those success stories and see those changes with people. So and that's what you get to be a part of, people that are successful in this, and just can't say enough good things. I'm so proud to be part of the community.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, hey, we'll get some questions here. So, again, call in for questions, 637-1378. Hit 1 on the keypad, and I'll know you're there. You can jump on there. Otherwise, we'll see a lot of you guys on. Thanks for joining us. I will go ahead and grab my list here, and let's go through a couple questions here. There's a few that can, I think, kind of pertain to children, so maybe we'll talk about those couple questions here. Kind of a theme here. So this person asks, says, "Hi, everyone. Somewhere in the modules, I recall Reed saying that if a child has gut issues, then the mom should be tested too, or vice versa because they have the same issues. I'm trying to understand the correlation between parent and child and testing." All right. Well, this is a good question here. So it's kind of a neat phenomenon, things that you see. I've had the fortune of getting to work with multiple, parent and child often, but also many times whole families where everybody says, "Hey, we're going to run lab work." And then to look at that lab work and their symptoms and everything about each case individually, and to see the points of commonality. Hey, you're coming typically from that same person. You're obviously going to share some tendencies and some genetics. You're going to share some biology. That's all going to be part of that. So I know personally myself, my mom and I have very similar biology. So if something works for her, it's probably going to work for me. If she's feeling something, I may eventually feel that too. So we kind of share notes, compare notes pretty often about health. All right. So because there's so much similarity. So you'll see that. So there is. Why would this happen? Why would you want to do this? Why would you see this here? First of all, just thinking about, like we said, genetic tendencies, right? So biology is going to be very similar. So, and you'll find out, where you kind of take your biology from. Is it from mom or from dad or combination of both? But then also you have to keep in mind that, of course, you're going to get your initial sort of inoculation in a way, but this is the birthing process and the nursing process. So a lot of fluids and microbes and all of that cool stuff, not your gross stuff, but all cool stuff there, gets shared in the beginning, right? You're very, very close. If it's anything like our daughter, she pretty much didn't leave Heather for the first year. Her side, very much close and connected to her. There's a lot of connection there. So there's going to be a sharing, obviously, of microbes and that type of thing, number one there. But then also as, a child grows, right? So you're in the same household. You're eating similar foods. You're under a similar external environment. You're maybe eating and drinking after each other. You are kissing, you're sharing this close living, right? Living together. So there's going to be some, again, things are going to be exchanged there. Nutrient levels and things like that could be similar because you're maybe eating similar foods. And then also just the mental emotional side of things. You're going to pretty much learn how to eat and breathe and move and handle stress and think like your parents. That's just kind of how it is. We always say that you don't want to grow up and be like your parents necessarily. Well, some of that's going to be hard to avoid. So, hopefully you take the good traits, but maybe, or you can realize some of the maybe things that are not as strengths with your parents and improve on those. But you're going to have some similarities, right? So that's all going to happen there. So just those basic, I think, kind of obvious reasons there is why there's going to be some similarities between and amongst family members. It's just kind of how it's happened since the dawn of mankind, right? So that's how that kind of works there. So on the gut side of this, I would say that we'll just say gut because we're not going to typically do a lot of hormone testing with children, mostly more in the food sensitivities and the gut testing, that side of things typically is what you're going to do with the child. There's going to be good reason to have some similarities there going on. So not only something like maybe H. pylori, which spreads pretty easily inside a family, but also you have just hygiene, cleanliness, right? So a lot of organisms, as gross as it may be, follow the fecal-oral route, right? So, changing diapers or cleaning up after a child or just meals, there's just a lot of, I don't know, it's just the human condition, right? So we're taking care of each other, so we're going to be in close proximity. I don't know many mothers that wear masks and gloves when they're taking care of their children, or fathers would do that either. So just naturally, there can be some exchange there that goes on. And so ideally, if you're working through gut protocols, then you want to have everybody addressing things at one time, so you don't have a lot of reintroduction or reinfection that goes on there. So it makes sense to do it all together at one time. And also things like dietary changes, they're usually easier when all the family members are on board and we all do this together. You know, the one child that has to eat different than everybody else, that's never fun, right? So, and it's not fun for mom or dad cooking either, because you've got to cook so many different variations in meals, so it's more effort. So logistically, I think it makes sense for everybody, or at least, like I say, maybe mother and child here, to do testing at one time and go through the protocol at the same time. I think it just has a whole lot of advantages if they can do that side of it. So that's my initial thought there. Ryan, any thoughts about that? Have you seen some of these similarities and patterns?
Yep, you hit on just about all of it. That was really thorough. I have one kind of interesting case to add to that, which was about a week ago. I did an MDP clinical advisor consult, and it was actually for a 2-year-old. So it was a really young 2-year-old boy, and we were looking at an HTMA test, which is a hair tissue mineral analysis. And this little 2-year-old had the highest levels of aluminum I had ever seen on an HTMA. So one of the benefits of the HTMA testing is that you get to have insights into heavy metal load, heavy metal toxicity, and that could show up in the hair, right? It can show up in the hair and be reflective of what's going on at the tissue level. So this young 2-year-old boy had really high aluminum levels, and it, of course, it didn't really make sense to me that at 2 years old you could have had such an extreme amount of aluminum exposure, only having been on this earth for 2 years, right? So if we think of common sources of aluminum exposure, that can include cookware, tin foil, aluminum cans, like drinking water out of aluminum soda cans. Deodorants have a lot of just commercial deodorants have aluminum in them, unless you're using an aluminum-free deodorant. And there are many other sources, but that's just to name a few. So what kind of clicked with me or made more sense to me was that he was actually getting the aluminum through the breast milk because he was still breastfeeding, right? So that's another example of and something I saw concretely through the lab work that was showing how, these exposures can kind of get passed on from one family member to another family member, and that includes toxins, right, being passed on that way through the breast milk. So in that case, the recommendation there was to make sure the mother was aware of what was going on, and in that case, like some binders can be really helpful. You have to be careful, of course, with what kinds of supplements and support you're using when breastfeeding, but like a maintenance dose of binder can be really helpful to help to remove some of that aluminum from the mother's system, but also just having her be aware of where she might be getting exposed to excess sources of aluminum so that she wasn't passing it on.
Very good example there.
Yeah.
That's even in the womb. Those metals are coming in,
right.
Even past, actual birth. So, yeah, it would be, Ryan, it would be awesome if we all started out with a clean slate and like 100%, out of the womb. It's just not the case. It's not the world that we live in. I'm not sure if that ever really truly was the case, even hundreds of years ago, or thousands of years ago. But yeah, kids don't all come out the same. There's nutrient deficiencies from the start. There are metals from the start. There's microbiome issues from the start. There's genetic mutations. That all those things come out from the start. So it's not surprising to hear 6-month-old and 1-year-old and 2-year-olds that have health challenges very early on. That's not a congenital birth defect or something like that. Just, hey, they've got acid reflux and they've got GI symptoms and skin issues and they can't sleep. Sounds like most 40-year-olds, right? So we've all got this challenge here in the modern world.
Yep. And I'll have a lot of clients that I'll run heavy metal testing on. You're running HTMA tests, and I'll see a fair amount of mercury, and then I'll kind of list out some of the sources of exposure, and they'll say, well, I don't have mercury fillings, and I don't eat tuna, right? And, all these other kind of potential sources, and they'll be kind of perplexed as to where it's coming from. And I'll remind them that, that heavy metals are bioaccumulative, that they can accumulate in the body over a lifetime, right? So, even looking at drinking tap water, for example, that's a really high source of heavy metal exposure. So, and another thing that I'll often explain, like you had just mentioned, is that you can accumulate these heavy metals in utero, right, before you're even born, right? If your mother had metal fillings, if mercury fillings, right, not uncommon at all, right?
Yep.
Our, the baby boomer generation was the generation to kind of really get these mercury fillings just kind of handed out like candy, like antibiotics would be, right? So not uncommon to see that as a potential source as well. And then I'll get I see, right, yeah, my mom does have, half a dozen mercury fillings in her mouth. Pretty crazy to think about, but that is, like you said, the world we live in. And from day one, we can have, we can already be living with a certain level of toxic burden.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, children are great. They do great with FDN. Typically, it's a little easier in some ways to work with children because you don't have 4 years of habits and work and emotional baggage, if you want to say it that way, and habits and things ingrained in an adult. So a child's relatively clean slate, and their bodies are regenerating so quickly. And typically, the parents are awesome, doing a great job in being involved. You've got a lot of control over the whole diet lifestyle aspect. And then you get the insight from lab testing, and it's pretty clear on which direction to go. So great group to work with. We can have a lot of success with children and teens, and it happens pretty quickly. So if that comes across your desk there to have as a potential client somebody that's younger, I think FDN works great. And like I said, a little more simplified because we don't do a lot of hormone testing or really any hormone testing with children, especially under the age of 15. So very good. And several FDNs that's kind of their niche, their focus is children's health and their family health. Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll follow up.
Go ahead.
No, please continue. It's good.
I was just going to add, that working with children is not my niche per se, but I do work with a handful of FDNs whose niche is working with children and looking at their lab work during clinical advisor calls. And, even in kids as young as 4, 6, 8 years old, I'm seeing things like mold overgrowth and overgrowth of Clostridia bacteria and H. pylori and parasites. So children are not excluded from these same types of stressors that adults are, and it may manifest in a different way in terms of symptom presentation. But these issues can start at a young age, and it's common to see, for example, probably one of the more common things I'll see in younger children is mood dysregulation, right? Like feelings of anger or shame or rage. That's kind of more commonly what I see in terms of how these stressors on the body can affect children. It often seems to be, at least in my experience, issues with kind of like neurological presentation of mood dysregulation, anxiety, depression, and everything in between.
Exactly. Yep. Mm-hmm. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, this follow-up question, this other question here that's related here, it kind of goes into a little what you're talking about there, Ryan. So this person's asking, let's see, what tests would you run on a child with autism? I would say food sensitivity and GI map, but what others would he run and why? So asking about Reed. I ask because I'm not familiar with other testing other than what we have learned. So,
yeah. So those two for sure, the GI map and food sensitivity tests, I think would be a great place to start. And I would always consider running an OAT test, an organic acid test from Great Plains Laboratory on a child that is presenting with autism. that test was actually designed by Dr. William Shaw at Great Plains Labs as, kind of initially was designed for children with autism. That's actually the history of that test. And there are certain patterns you can identify on that test that you might not see otherwise. For example, you do get insights into neurotransmitter balance, so you get to see the metabolites or end products of dopamine and serotonin metabolism, for example. So it's not uncommon to see with an autistic child an issue where they're not breaking down dopamine very well, in which case dopamine would be building up in excess. And too much dopamine it can be neurotoxic, and it can result in symptoms of anxiety, and even kind of behavioral issues like some of these tendencies you see with autistic children, like OCD and tics and that sort of thing, right? So it's also not uncommon to see with autistic children very, very high oxalate metabolites on an OAT test. And that gets a little more advanced. It's kind of a topic on its own. There is a really great FDN advanced course on oxalate that I highly recommend checking out. But basically, to summarize quickly, oxalate is a type of anti-nutrient that's found in certain plant foods. And some foods contain much higher levels of oxalate than others. So, for example, spinach, Swiss chard, beets, sweet potatoes, most nuts and seeds and grains are all very high in oxalate. And long story short, because it's a big topic, but oxalate can cause a lot of metabolic chaos in the body, right? So I have seen, one or two autistic children cases looking at an OAT test where the normal cutoff for oxalate might be around 100, and I've seen it over 1,000 in some autistic children. So that's something you get to see that you can't see on any other test. That may be a unique circumstance with autistic children. So that's something I would always want to consider looking at. You can also get to see Clostridia bacterial metabolites on that test, which again, there's a high association with Clostridia and autism. So it's not uncommon to see autistic children dealing with some Clostridia overgrowth, and a number of other things. I could definitely talk for an hour on how powerful the OAT test can be with children with different types of, whether it's OCD or autism or even kind of PANDAS type patterns, which would be this kind of pediatric onset of autoimmune related neuropsychiatric disorders, right? So in plain English, like kind of autoimmune processes where the immune system is creating antibodies to the brain as a result of some kind of trigger, like whether that be a streptococcus bacterial infection or Clostridia or even kind of mold overgrowth, really can be triggered by any potential pathogen, but can also be a powerful part of the healing tool set if you're working with an autistic child and you're being told that nothing can be done and that child is just going to need to be medicated for the rest of their life. And not to say that those approaches can't be helpful in managing the condition, but also why wouldn't you want to do this deeper FDN-like investigation, looking at the body non-specifically and helping to reduce these sources of inflammation or leaky gut or pathogens or heavy metals in the system that can all potentially be throwing the body out of whack. So long story short, if you're working with an autistic child or case, I highly recommend running the OAT. If you don't have experience with it, not to fear at all. You can run that test through the medical director program, and you can get a consult with myself or one of the other fantastic clinical advisors and get some help interpreting those results, because it is a beast of a test. There are 76 markers on there, so it can be intimidating at first.
Sure can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But great answer. Exactly. You see certain patterns, right? Certain things that are typical, and that a child doesn't have to have necessarily an autism diagnosis, right, or high functioning, low functioning, whatever. It could just ADHD or behavioral issues or anything. So, exactly, I would employ all those things there, and you guys know how to investigate this. So this isn't an area I think you have to have a lot of specialized knowledge in. Yeah, study kind of the patterns you see in people that are having success with autism. I know Dr. Kurt Wohler has a pretty good write-up there on autism as well. I've referred to one of his guides there, some things always to be thinking about and looking at. But if I ran enough lab work, I'd see all the things that he's talking about in there. So yeah, very, very good. HTMA, I think, is helpful, too, on the metal side of things to get that look there. So, but really, don't let I'd say this: don't let any label that somebody's been given or diagnosis scare you from working with them, right? So it's just a label. So a person can have heavy metal issues. They can have an oat that doesn't look great. They can have Clostridial overgrowth and yeast and a leaky gut going on, some food sensitivities, and not be autistic, right? And not have necessarily anything that's those type of symptoms. They can have totally other symptoms. So just make sure that we're not treating test results. We're not trying to go after symptoms. We're not trying to go after a diagnosis. We're going after the function. And trust that process, that you can say, hey, you know how to look at lab results, look at the underlying malfunctions, you know how to address those, you know how to connect the dots, you know how to put together a good protocol and walk that out. Just trust in that. So I believe in miracles and awesome things can happen with the person. I'm always going to have that as my ultimate goal and love to see that to occur for people. But any steps forward with anybody with their health working with you is a huge benefit that they probably won't get anywhere else, honestly. And they probably have tried everywhere else trying to find somebody to help them do that. So don't be afraid of that, any kind of diagnosis really at all. The name is just kind of a name for a cluster of symptoms, and we know there's underlying malfunction that needs to be addressed at the root of that. So,
Yes.
Running over panel.
It's so important, Brandon. Yeah, so such an important message. I was working recently with a client who had a child that she believed might be kind of on the autism spectrum, and we ran some lab testing. We did find some things that may potentially be associated with pandas, and I did point her towards some educational resources on that topic, but I also made sure to explain to her that in a sense it doesn't really matter what the label is or what the diagnosis is, right? A diagnosis may be useful when working with your primary care physician or provider to get on any necessary medication. But when we're looking at addressing the body holistically and functionally, we're looking at the same set of root stressors, whether it's Hashimoto's or autism or pandas or rheumatoid arthritis or, anxiety, depression, gastrointestinal related issues like IBS, gas, bloating. It all kind of traces back to a similar set of root stressors, right? So hormone imbalances, gut dysfunction, toxins and heavy metals, right? So the difference between how it may manifest as Hashimoto's in one person and some kind of neuropsychiatric disorder like autism or pandas is really just kind of a matter of that individual's unique genetic makeup, right? So it's kind of like looking at like a chain with a weak link, right? Everyone has weak links somewhere in their genetics. And if you add up all these root stressors and if you pull on that chain hard enough, eventually that weak link is going to break for that person. But everyone has these weak links somewhere along their genetic chain. It's just going to be different how that presents. But it's interesting, I guess what I'm kind of getting at is that, there's really, there can be a very similar set of root stressors from one person to the next, might have an identical set of issues, like say blastocystis hominis and mercury toxicity. But in one person, the set of symptoms can look totally, totally different, right? So that kind of leads us back to the fact that we can, as FDNs, we can help just about anybody. regardless of the label or the condition, right? Because we are looking to restore function. We are looking to optimize nutrition and, kind of plug the holes and help to remove those interferences to healing, and then let the body's own intelligence kind of sort itself out. But, I've gotten to and once you kind of make that realization, you can get to the point where you realize, I may have my niche in terms of like my marketing approach, right, and the types of ideal client that I try to bring in. But hey, if someone comes to me looking to help their autistic child, or someone comes to me with ulcerative colitis, I'm not going to be hesitant to try to help that person out at all, because I do believe that this is kind of a universal set of skills that we are equipped to be able to help just about anybody.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Amen to that. So
yeah.
a question we used to get really often, I think, on the call here and on the Facebook page too, was something to the effect of, can FDN help a person with blank? So fill in the blank, whatever it happens to be. And that question right there, the answer you just gave, Ryan, the points you made there and the principles, that's the answer to that question every single time. Mm-hmm. So we don't get that as often. So maybe that point is getting across there, but I don't blame people for asking that question, because that is how we've been trained to think. Right? We think in the medical mindset, right? We've been trained that way. So it is a shift in mindset that as soon as you hear that question, hopefully your answer or your response is just what Ryan just said, zips through your head in about half a second, instead of, let me get on Google, let me search this condition and see if I can figure it out, if I can help that person, or what I need to become an expert in this diagnosis real quickly here so I can help this person. That's not our job. That's almost getting into the lane that you don't want to be working in. You want to think more general, right? We're generalists. We're not specialists. We're not going to get real specific on things. Yes, know the condition, some of the things about it. Yes, have an understanding of what's going on, but purposely don't become an expert in it. You don't want to be the expert there necessarily in that condition. Now, yeah, of course, ideal client, things like that, marketing, we mentioned that, but how you end up working, ultimately 95% of it is going to be the same for every single person. There's a small 5% that varies based on maybe the condition, their history, some other factors that you have to deal with. So, don't spend all your time and effort and energy focusing on that 5%. That's not really going to make that much of a difference. Get really good at the 95%.
Yep, it's absolutely true. If you think about it, as human beings, getting a little more kind of stepping back and looking at the bigger picture, our genetics, something like 99.99% of genetics we share in common, right? So we all have more in common than we have differences, right? Mm-hmm. So what that means is that, certain physiological processes are shared in common between all humans, right? So it's not like, estrogen and progesterone like work differently in one person to the next person, right? With having that kind of understanding, yeah, you can definitely approach this with a wide-angle lens and looking at things as a generalist, not as a specialist. And when it comes down to it, also, if you think of it this way, there are only really so many levers in the body that we can look at between, hormone balance and gut function, detoxification, toxins, heavy metals, that sort of thing. Right? So, and again, a lot of people you're going to see a lot of similar things come up over and over and over again when you do this long enough, whether it's estrogen dominance or H. pylori and parasites, heavy metals like aluminum and mercury, right? So there's really only so many things to investigate in the body, which is actually kind of a good thing, because once you get good at identifying those patterns, you know how to help that person resolve those things and teach them this tool set of dietary and lifestyle principles to help resolve those issues. And again, not to beat a dead horse, but those set of root stressors, you're going to see them over and over again, but they're going to present themselves or manifest as different symptoms for that client. So yeah, you don't need to go digging into understanding the specifics of that condition. It's somewhat arbitrary, the fact that one person has one condition and another person has another. It's sort of arbitrary, right? It's just how their unique makeup and genetics ended up kind of presenting itself with a certain set of root stressors. But if you're able to resolve those issues, you can really help just about anybody.
Mm-hmm. I don't know about you, Ryan, but I have oddball things that happen to me that I've, through observation and just trying some different things, have figured out that, when this is happening, this isn't actually the problem. The root is somewhere else. So I've just learned my body in its uniqueness, and I can say, hey, if this part of my body is hurting right now, that's not the problem. It's actually something upstream or something over here that's the problem. I'll address this, and that goes away. So part of that, you just train a person to listen to their own body and be able to know about its biochemical uniqueness. It's kind of a cool thing, and it's a process that unfolds as you work over the period of months with somebody. You learn about how just unique their body is, and what it needs to function optimally. That's the customized, personalized approach.
Yeah, everyone has their unique signs or tells for them, right? Which can be helpful to be in tune with those. Because once you start, for me, I know if I'm not getting enough sleep, if I'm not eating well, my allergies start to act up, right? That's kind of my clue or symptom from my body that I need to slow down, take it easy, maybe take a break, go in the infrared sauna, try to take an afternoon off of work and go out for a hike and relax a little bit. Hey, as FDNs, we have to walk the walk too. We have to be doing just as much self-care as our clients, especially if we want to be present and be out there helping people. So those are things we could teach our clients too, how to be in tune with their unique tells or signs, right? And it is going to be different from one person to the next because of that unique bio-individuality, right? And that's a powerful thing to be able to learn, right? And over time, you learn to know what tools work really well for you to help, even if it's some occasional intelligent allopathy. Like, hey, I know if I have a flare-up, maybe some curcumin can help me with that, or maybe I can use some 5-HTP or some GABA or L-theanine to help me with my sleep. Not as kind of a regular thing, but just as an occasional tool in my toolbox when those issues come up, right? I'd much rather have a pantry of holistic natural supplements to help me with those occasional issues rather than a bunch of, pharmaceuticals and Advil and Bayer and, those sorts of things, which tend to cause just as many problems as they solve.
Mm-hmm. Ryan, you've been spying on me in our house. You've been in our supplement cabinet.
I see you. I feel like every FDN has one.
Oh, yeah. There's the things you reach for, and you occasionally have a little supplement graveyard, too, of things that maybe didn't work out so good, but it's good to have everything at your disposal when you need it. Yep.
Yep, yeah, a little like a apothecary, right? And that's another thing, too, you can explain with a client when they might get overwhelmed by the number of supplements we're recommending to them. Say, look, there's a couple of things you can point out. You can say, this is just a protocol. It's not a lifelong sentence. But when all is said and done, you are going to have probably some things left over, but those will be in your kind of toolkit. Those will be in your supplement cabinet, in your supplement drawer, wherever you have them. And you will know, because we're going to learn throughout this process together, how to use these things occasionally when you need them. Right. So we're also kind of helping someone to revamp or kind of do a makeover of their healing tools, right? So you can kind of almost make a joke out of it too. Like it's like instead of doing a home makeover, like you see those TV shows, right? We're doing like a kind of a pharmaceutical supplement makeover.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. I've kind of got my little first aid list, medicine cabinet type of list, natural medicine cabinet list of things that, I recommend people to just have on hand and keep stocked. It's things that you want to have as soon as you feel something. So as soon as I feel a tickle or something or a little thing, okay, I know what to reach for, and I want it that hour. I don't want to wait three days for it to come in the mail. I want it there right now.
Yep, like for me, when I'm stressed or not sleeping well, like I know my body needs magnesium. That for me, I've just figured that out, and it's like magic for me.
Yep.
So that's something I always have year round. Or I always like to have some biocidin on hand in case, I start to develop a little scratchy throat, or I think I'm starting to come down with something. I will start on that as soon as I start to feel off, to hopefully kick it and nip it in the bud before it develops into a problem.
Exactly right. Exactly. Good stuff here. I like this. Good two questions here, and kind of what they've led to, because it all comes back to the principles, right? So there's just some real specific questions that were asked about, working with children. We'll just say in general, but we're always coming back to those FDN principles. So you've got to circle back around to that, and that's even during your onboarding call, your conversations with your client. You need to acknowledge that they have a diagnosis or they have something real specific going on. But then you've got to educate them and explain to them just what Ryan said very eloquently here about how we truly work and what the focus really needs to be. And for some people, you may have to come back to that every other time you talk with them, just because they have to be retrained, right? We all have to have some retraining, but there's a retraining that goes on. And that is what helps set up a good working relationship and proper expectations. Reasonable expectations and the principles by which we work, so they'll trust in the process as long as it takes. I have had clients that in 4 months, wow, everything is just running like a top. It's wonderful. I have other clients that I need 9 months or a year to get things where they need to be. That's just their individual body chemistry. It's what they have, but not bragging about me, I'll say just FDNs in general, they're not going to get that kind of service, that kind of in-depth investigation, that kind of attention and care that an FDN is going to give somebody for that length of time, and be able to follow you through that entire process of the learning biochemical individuality, new things that might sort of shift and change and pop up along the way, all the whole process. So you're probably the best thing they have going. I'm going to say that. There's not many folks that have that level of commitment to our clients like we do. And we're proud of that, and we attract those type of people. I don't know too many FDNs that I wouldn't, I would not call a friend, and be proud to call them a friend and share a meal and have a good time with, and just be proud to be part of the group.
Amen.
That includes you, Ryan.
Oh, the feeling is mutual.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really, really genuinely is a unique model. And I have to say, I can't tell you how many times a client has come to me after seeing like a naturopath or a functional medicine doctor even. In some cases we have maybe a similar set of tools or skills. But what we bring that's really, really unique is that we give our clients time, right? That is so unique to our process and what we do, is that we are giving clients, hours and hours of our time and able to know them like no one else has ever known them before. And that gives us such an advantage in terms of being able to actually genuinely help someone, is really hearing them out, really understanding every piece of their history and their symptom history, and being able to really have the time to explain things to them, right? Like I've had clients that have been to, again, like a functional medicine doctor, and have had like a really similar experience to what they may have had experience with a conventional medical doctor, which is to say they just got a 7 or 10 minute visit. They rushed through the lab results and didn't even understand, what they were looking at or what they were supposed to do after that visit, right? Because we, as FDNs, we know this well. We have the ability to have repeated visits with our clients and really have that kind of follow through and be able to keep our arms around them and really be able to hold their hands and give them all this nuance and detail that is just unfortunately missing. And look, not to say there aren't some all-star practitioners out there between, even conventional medical doctors, naturopaths, FMDs, but unfortunately they tend to be the exception, not the rule, whereas I feel like it's definitely going to be more your experience working with an FDN that you're going to get this kind of red carpet premium treatment.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. Well, time is winding to a close for the call this week, guys. So thanks for tuning in. We've got about 30 seconds left, so not enough time for another question. But again, thanks, guys, for tuning in today. A lot of you guys listened there intently on the call, so thanks for doing that, sharing your afternoon with us. And we want to say again, congratulations to Abby, Rebecca, Lori, and Erica, our graduates this week. And thanks again for the good written-in questions and good conversation here, Ryan. So,
yeah, that's all right. Thanks, Brandon. Yeah, have a great weekend.
Thanks for being on.
Looking forward to talking next week.
Sounds awesome, guys. Enjoy, and we'll see you then.